There are three basic installation techniques that we have because there's three different types of coil. This particular installation is a very small carrier slant coil. Normally, the fixture would fit in the very back of the fan over top of the coil, but in this case, your cabinet is very small, so we will show you an alternative way to install this, and it in fact should be installed this way anytime that you have a slant coil. First of all, we've taken the sides off and we're going to pull the fan out, and by pulling the fan out it gives us a little more ease of installation, opens our cabinet up. It's interesting to note that with the reflective material in this unit here, it will make our installation about 300% more effective because UV bounces all over that chamber. The mechanic will now show you how to install this unit. In this particular case, we have the ease of installing this with just a wire that's on top to hold it in place. Now normally this is screwed right into the side of the cabinet on the mounting bracket at the top, and if need be on the bottom, but in this case it's not necessary. John will now snap in his first probe at the far end, taking care to snap it in properly. Now we cannot put the other probe on yet because if we did when we put the fan in, it would be in the way. So John is going to put the air handler fan right back in. And once that is pushed back in, all you have to do is snap your other probe in. Now remember, this should be screwed into the side, not just set in there like that, so that it is more permanent. It can be screwed from the outside in or from the inside out. Then you pick your wiring up out of the electric in the top of your unit. Again, you want to get a 110 volt source. If you don't have it in the top of your cabinets, we have step-down transformers. The wires to the fan are put back up in the top of the cabinet. John, just stick the wires back up in there and they will be hooked up. We won't do this right now, but you know how easy it's as easy to plug them in as it was to unplug them. And you basically have installed a air probe sanitizer. That's all there is to it. You want the ultraviolet to shine down on that coil so that you will keep the coil clean. It will never fill up with electrolysis or the algae that normally grows in a coil, and the air that goes through that chamber will constantly be sanitized. And of course in our introduction we told you all of the wonderful benefits of what will happen when you install this. But for the installer himself, it's interesting to note that you always want to install this. This is referred to as a model E200. The E is for the fact that your controls are on the end. We have another type that looks very similar to this, but the controls are on the back of the unit, so that if your coil is at the top of the air handler instead of in the bottom, you can just cut a hole in the ductwork and install it that way. It is just this easy. Taking the fan out, putting the covers on is probably the hardest part of this installation. Now this is for the slant coil installation. There's nothing more that we can tell you. It's just that simple. Screw it in, hook up the electricity, put the cover on, but always, any time that you put this installation in, you want to put glasses on to protect your eyes, or when you turn the button on there, John, can you show where the on-off button is? You turn the unit on. When it snaps on, you put the cover on. It will not jump out of there and bother you. It is not dangerous to the extent that you have to worry about getting burned from it, as long as you do not expose your eyes or your skin to it for a long time. It's best to have the unit on, and you power off at the top of the unit when you're making this installation to begin with, and when you go in to inspect it, you want to make sure that all power is off of this unit so the probes will turn off automatically. You never have to worry about exposing yourself to it as long as the power is off. This is the second type of installation, which we refer to as a A-frame evaporator coil, so as to cover both sides of the coil well. The air probe sanitizer is installed in the back, as you see in this illustration. We turned the power off before we started. We removed the cover. We removed the fan. When we installed this unit, it was necessary to extend the width of the unit, which we will explain later how that's done, so that the probes are far enough away from the fan. The fan was installed back in, the electric was turned on, and this is the results. Now these, of course, have to be hooked up to a power supply that does not kick off and on. It stays on constantly. And again, in the back of this unit, you'll notice the foil, which will increase the amount of strength that this system has. Before you put the cover on, we will turn the electric off because the system is working, it is functioning. Tighten down the fan, put the cover on, and turn the power supply back on. Another point we would like to make on a installation such as this, due to the fact that there is so much space between the bottom of the fan and the top of the evaporator coil, this unit can actually be slid back underneath and affixed on the back wall without ever having to remove the fan. And that makes this installation a whole lot easier. This will be our third installation. This we refer to as a slab coil. This is a very old unit. Normally it's quite difficult to remove the fan shroud in this instance. And the adaptability of our unit, you will see it's going to be slid in there flat, and when he gets on the back wall, he's going to put it in the install position. It's very easy to get this unit in. It just takes a matter of a minute or so to get underneath there and to put it on the far wall. After this is done, all you have to do is put a screw in the bottom flange, a screw in the top flange, and hook your electric up. That is the total installation, and then cover the unit up. Now we're going to install the probes. You can see how easy that is as well. The only thing lacking here now is just putting the screw in the two flanges and hooking your electric up and putting the cover back on. We will turn the unit on just to give you some idea of how it illuminates the system. It's completely up and out of the moisture. If you want to, you could even probably raise the end toward the coil up about an inch, level it off. But again, it's just a matter of two screws, either from inside or you can screw them in from the other side. There are some tips that I would like to give you when installing the air probe sanitizer. You want to make sure before you remove your fan that you check the distance and the thickness of your fan to see if you have enough space between your bases. If you can, it's good to try to keep at least an inch space in between these, and we don't have that much space there, so what you'll want to do is remove the lamp base that's on the unit. You want to be careful and not pull on the lamp base itself, but rather take hold of the wires, pull the base back as far as you want it so that you'll have the space that you desire. Self-tapping screws come along with each one of the units, so you don't have to worry about not having the right kind of screw. And then you want to self-tap this screw right down into the unit. If you have to do the same thing at the other end, you may do so. But once again, I caution you, do not pull on the base. Just, there's plenty of wire inside here. You could move it out to there if you had to. When you are installing your bulbs, you want to take care not to break the little clip in the back of your lamp base off. The reason that this little clip is there is to fit into this cavity here. It holds the lamp into place, so either side of the lamp can be put in. It doesn't matter. But you put that underneath there, put your pins in, and then it snaps in the front. This is the flexible part when you put your lamps in. Again, notice if you try to put it in like this, try to snap it, it won't go. Snap it in under there like that and in. Now, if you would happen to take the bulb and push it forward, you would break the little clip off. You don't want to do that. The front part is the flexible part. That is the part in and out. That's the way you go from the outside in each case. Clip it under and go in. Same way with this one. And that's important because if you break this small clip off, then your bulb will not stay in. We can send you more of these lamp bases, but it's easier just to pay attention and put the bulbs in right. Now please be sure and remove any fingerprints on the bulbs, because that way debris, dust and so forth will not stick to your bulb. It will not affect the effectiveness of your bulb if you have fingerprints on there, but it will just be more efficient. And that's actually all there is to the system. But once again, I want to stress the fact that it's very strong. It is non-corrosive, will not rust on you, and works perfectly in the ways that we have shown you. There are some cases where with your A-frame units, you may have a system where your A-frame is in the top instead of in the bottom. And what you have to do in a case like that, you have to cut a hole 4 inches by 17 inches and insert this into the ductwork. And when you insert that in there, you will ask for a T-model, which will have all of the controls rather than being on the end. They will be on the top of the unit, so that when you push it in, these controls will not be in the way. And merely strap it in with aluminum duct tape. But you do want these to shine down on the bottom, on both sides of your A coil. There's very few installations that are like that, but this is adaptable and can be used in that particular instance. The air probe sanitizer is probably, without a doubt, the greatest thing that has ever happened to air, and the results are certainly guaranteed. The different models that we have shown you are the ones that are the most popular for installing inside the air handler, as well as duct installation. Sometimes you will come upon a job where you will just want to install something directly into the duct. It may be metal duct, and you don't want to install the unit inside the duct. So this is what we call our flush mount model, where all you have to do is cut 2 holes this size, put this right up against the duct, screw it in, controls are out here, hook up your 110, and that's it. You can have UV inside your ducts with the flush mount unit without having to go inside. Sometimes when we have a problem with space, you might get into a fan coil unit and hotels and so forth that do not have enough height to the plenum. So you can use one of these horizontal units. One bulb goes this way, one bulb goes out that way, but in height, you only have to worry about 2 inches of height, and this will not cut down your air flows at all. All your controls on the top, hook it up to the electric, set it up there in front of your evaporator coil on the cold side. You always want to install these on the cold side. Here is a little unit that could be put into a small hotel room where you have a small air handler and a chilled water system. It can be put on the wall, can be laid down, and They all basically have the same thing, 5-amp fuses, on-off switches. If you want to use Greenfield to hook your electric up, the fittings are on each one of the units. Now sometimes you may get into commercial. This is excellent for commercial. It's almost easier to install a commercial unit than it is a domestic unit. And this is an example of a commercial unit, but usually when you install your units, your bulbs, rather than sticking out, will stick either down or up. If your coil is 3 feet or less, you will run the unit either across the floor and let the bulbs point up, or you put it at the top and let the bulbs shine down. Never turn the bulbs into the coil. If you do not have any uprights to install your unit, you can take these mounting blocks that we can send you, and you can put one on either side. It's important that you give us the exact measurement so that when we cut these and you go to install your units, all you have to do is lay it here, run your screws into it, and that's it. If it's a very tall coil where you have to have bulbs on the bottom and bulbs on the top, your probes, you put your other unit down here. We run the electric and the controls out here and off of the bottom of the other one to your hole where you're going to hook up your electricity, and that's all there is to it. You can have this 20 feet long if need be, and don't ever have to worry about it sagging out. This will support 150, 200 pounds of pressure without ever bending. And that's the advantage of having a good, solid piece of equipment, something that isn't going to twist, turn, tarnish, or rust. And the air probe sanitizer will not do that. And I would just like, at this moment, to make a little mention about our bulbs. This is almost like having a 16-inch long bulb in a 8-inch envelope. And if you ever worry about if these are strong enough to get the job done, this thing weighs over 5 pounds. No wind can blow these bulbs out of this unit. It is very, very strong. And again, it goes without saying, always keep your bulbs clean. With this extrusion, we can put bulbs every 4 inches, every 6 inches, every 8 inches, every foot, depending on the problem that you have. When you call in, we can design this for you. You don't pay any more for a custom-made unit than you do a standard unit. I'm going to turn this unit on. We're using standard fluorescent bulbs so that I don't get zapped out, but this will give you some idea of what they would look like inside the air handler. These also are 18-watt bulbs, the same as the ones that we have here, but there's a big difference in that these are UVC bulbs. They do not produce ozone. That's very important. The Environmental Protective Agency, the American Lung Association, tells us not to release ozone inside occupied buildings, and of course we do not do that. So whatever your needs might be, we're here to serve you, and we feel as though we have the very best system that there is. You can do a lot of help to people by installing the air probe sanitizer. Get a hold of us anytime that we can assist you. We'll be glad to talk to any of your techs, any of your heads of your companies that need further information. We back all of this information up with literature if you need it, and we do hope that this has been informative enough for you. If you have any suggestions of what we could include on another presentation in the future, please let us know.